What is the biggest advantage that young people have in today's society? I'm H Invests and welcome to this video. Okay, so what is the biggest advantage young people have in today's society? Well, if you define what defines young, right, it's that we have a lot of time. And with time brings incredible opportunity. And what I want to point out is that in today's society, we're filled with more opportunity than there's ever been. Think about the internet, right? It's absolutely transformed our society and it's made knowledge free and accessible. It's opened countless doors for people in a world where they might not have had those opportunities before. And it's made society into much more of a meritocracy. For those that use the internet productively and properly, it has skyrocketed their productivity. Just think about how things have changed, right? Like in terms of shopping, you don't have to walk around malls for 2-3 hours if you don't want to. You can go boom, Amazon, bam, on to the next thing. More efficient in communication. Let's meet Town Square, 3 p.m, boom. Just more efficient in receiving information, more efficient in so many ways. And my favorite, of course, it's given us the tools and the resources at our fingertips to take control of our own financial situations and take responsibility for building our own wealth. That's what H Invests, this channel, is all about. Okay, so a point that I wanted to make. Long gone are the days when investing was only a rich man's game. I don't think people have realised how much has changed when if you compare what we have today compared to Wall Street in the 1920s, where it was very much about just kind of who you knew. It was very difficult to get into the investing game without some kind of direct affiliation to that industry. And as times progressed, it's got much and much easier for kind of people to get involved in the stock market. For example, 50% of Americans today, they own shares in some form, whether that's directly or through their company or through a wealth manager, etc., etc. So the internet has completely transformed the way that we're able to invest our own money. One thing, everything is now incredibly fluid, right? The information is incredibly just transparent. If I wanted to go and invest in, say, the insurance company Aviva in 1970, I'd have to try and find out who their investor relations are, contact them, and then I'd have to ask for the annual report. I might get sent the annual report after a couple of days. I can then go through it. I then have to calculate some particular ratios if I wanted their price to free cash flow. I then realize, oh shit, I want to compare it with another insurance company. I have to go to their investor relations to get it, or at least get these figures off of my broker. Today, I can have the price of free cash flows of all the companies in the S&P 500 ranked maybe within half a second. That is the beauty of the internet with investing. Information is fluid and free. And also it's much more convenient. You can set up a brokerage account from your laptop. You can see the information there right in front of you. You don't have to go through a broker who would have had much more influence over kind of your buy-sell decisions when there wasn't that own information and kind of transparency available to you. So what does this all mean? It means that in 2021 and beyond, you have a huge opportunity to get your income greater than expenses and start compounding your wealth through investing and get on the road to financial freedom. I know that might sound quite cliche, but it's a simple and effective plan to build your wealth. I wanted to touch on the point about the budget and the income versus expenses. This is how most people do their budgets. It's very basic. It's a very simple way and effective way to do your budget. But I recommend something doing a little bit more comprehensive. I've got a video coming out called How to Make a Proper Budget tutorial, which basically shows you a kind of more comprehensive but also very straightforward way you can build your budget, and it gives you a really good indication as to kind of how much you should be investing each month and your goals. Just breaks down your finances in a really, really simple, effective way. So I'd recommend that to anybody who doesn't really, who wants to know how to improve their budgeting skills. Okay, so the power of compound interest. This was a really important point I wanted to talk about in terms of wealth building. So Benjamin Franklin, who was basically an American polymath, he was a politician, scientist, inventor, statesman, very good chess player. He put this very simply. He said, money makes money, and the money that makes money makes money. So basically what he means by this is that money builds on itself. There are two main types of interests. There's simple interest, where basically you have your principal amount. In this example, it's $200. And every year the interest on that is the same because the interest only goes on the principal. So every year it's 3%, 3% of 200, $6 year after year after year. With compound interest, basically what happens is that interest from the previous year becomes that principal. So the 200 becomes $206. You're now earning interest on the $206, which would then be $6.18, which is more. And you guys might be thinking, bro, like what's the difference between simple and compound interest? $12, $12.18, 3% interest, pretty standard. What's the difference here? Well, there's a tremendous amount of difference over the long run. Compound interest is super powerful, and I'm going to show you a very, very interesting example right now. Okay, so here's a scenario that I've made up. I've tried to make it as kind of realistic as possible for a young person who realizes the power of compound interest. Okay, so here we have our character, Jim. And at age 16, Jim realizes the importance of fiscal discipline and begins saving money from his part-time job as a waiter. At university, Jim realizes the power of compound interest. Over 5 years of working as a waiter, Jim saves up $5,000, which he'll start investing once he graduates at age 21. He invested $5,000 passively, which means very little management, in an S&P 500 index fund that returns him a long-run average of 10% a year. S&P 500, that basically means they're all of the large companies in America, and the index funds will track the performance. So that's basically what he's done, is he's set up an instrument which is called an S&P 500 ETF, which basically tracks the large companies in the US, and the long-run average return of that is about 10% a year. You can see the graph on the bottom left side of the screen. What tends to happen is the S&P 500 does slightly better than 10% most years. We see a relatively big drop whenever there's a recession, but the long run trend is up. And if you average the return out in the long run, it usually comes out about 10% a year. So that's his kind of long run return. From age 22 to 40, Jim is able to save $300 a month from his job and add it to his investments. And then from age 40 to 65, maybe he's doing very well in his career, he's got a bit more money, he's able to save $1,000 a month from his job and add it to his investments. Okay, so the question is, just from all of these factors and that initial $5,000 he started off with as a waiter, how much will Jim's investment have grown to by the time he retires at 65? I'll give you guys a couple of seconds if you want to pause the video and have a decent estimate. Okay, $3.857636.66 million. I think that is absolutely incredible. Just taking a relatively average situation like this, with somebody who's very, very fiscally disciplined early on and starts investing and transforming it into this amount of money by retirement, it's absolutely insane. I think that is very, very, very powerful. And this just shows you the power of investing young and compounding your wealth early. By the way, I would say if anybody wants to go ahead and see this map of kind of how I did it, kind of going through the maths and create your own plan, there'll be a video out which will be linked in the description. It's called something like create your plan to get rich today. And it will show you how to build very, very basically this kind of compounding tool in Excel where you kind of input your own life goals and you input your own financial situation, and you can kind of see how this will work with you. But yeah, this is the power of investing and compounding your wealth early today. And this is what the incredible opportunity is all about for young people. And this is why I'm so passionate about investing. So I've been H Invests. I hope you enjoyed that video, and happy investing, everybody.